What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Palm City Chucks. We got more college football for you. We're going to dive into some playoff action. But before we get into that, we have a very special guest with us. Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself and what brings you to the Palm City Chucks.
Yeah, for sure. So lucky to be a Chuckhead and hopefully considered friend of the pod. But I grew up in Central Ohio, and I'm one of the annoying Ohio State fans that didn't actually go to Ohio State. My dad did. So know AJ from work, and have been lucky enough to realize that he's very into sports, and got turned on to you guys pretty soon after that. So good to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us. Let's get right into the action. So let's recap last weekend's college football playoff action. Or actually, before we do that, I'm getting ahead of myself. Excited to talk playoffs, but AJ and I want to get our bum ass teams out of the way.
You might want
So
to.
we'll start with mine. LSU took on Houston, in which they fell 35-38. I will say I'm proud of the fight. This season was a mess. I mean, we had the Les Miles drama and all that, and it's just or Brian Kelly. Sorry, I'm dating myself. Jeez.
That's
It's just one mess after another, man. They're kind of starting to blend. But yeah, LSU, proud of their performance in this one because, like I said, I feel like the season was completely in shambles. But they do fall short, 35-38. But good to see the offense going. Van Buren looked pretty good. I mean, I'm curious to see if Kevin's going to want to keep him in his scheme or what's going to go on there. But um, yeah, overall, just ready to move on to hopefully a much brighter future for LSU.
Is there much chatter on what your quarterback situation is going to look like next year? Yeah.
I not really yet. I mean, I think we brought in a decent recruit. I think he was 4-star.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if they're gonna try and get him ready to go or if they're gonna let him sit a year. I kind of want to let him sit, but as you know now, it's a risk of guys entering the transfer portal. Like if they're not gonna get playing time, sometimes that's enough for them to jump ship, go to a tougher situation as far as potential growth for the NFL, but get them those reps early and then maybe transfer to a powerhouse later down the line. So it's definitely something they're going to have to be careful with because, I mean, definitely want to hold on to that. Don't want to lose the guy, but yeah, not really sure where they're going to go. I know Van Buren is a sophomore, and he has looked decent in Nussmeier's absence. So I would be okay if we roll out with him, but yeah, there's just so much change going on in LSU. I have no clue what's how it's gonna shake out, but I'm just
That's
ready
fair.
for a clean slate.
Yeah, I gotta say, I was impressed by this LSU performance. Actually, I know they lost, but this was good fight. I think you put it
It was.
really, really well. They fought really hard against a team that I do think was better than them for sure. They've got the weird coaching situation. Who knows what's really gonna happen there? But good fight by them in this bowl game. They had every chance to win it. I think it was back and forth up until 28. Then Utah jumps out to 38-28 lead and got a little bit tougher. They brought it back 35-38, but good performance by them overall. I am just really curious to see what does Kiffin do with this team. I think unlike Penn State, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a second, do you think that LSU bounces back fully year one of Kiffin, or do you think there is a true transition year, like most times, especially in these transfer portal days,
Yeah,
true
yeah. I would
transition year
not.
where it's not as great?
Yeah, and as you know, working in the SEC or the Big Ten, it's never going to be easy. So if you have these added hurdles, it's just that much tougher. So I would not be shocked if we have a middling season next year. I think we'll make a bowl game. Like it's not going to be crazy,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't think we'll be like a college football playoff team. Um, but yeah, I think the future is definitely bright with Kiffin. I think he will right the ship. He finds himself as one of the top coaches in the nation, no matter where he goes. So I think it's a matter of time till we're in the fight again, but I don't think it will be as soon as next year.
Yeah, I'd be surprised to see you guys atop the SEC are really top like 3 or 4 teams next year. But I feel like if they come in next year and are at least at about the same place, people will be like, all right, we can roll with this. So I'd be surprised if you weren't.
At least this year we took care of the non-SEC matchup to start the year. We didn't have to worry about that
That's
hole,
right.
but
Real
found
barn
ourselves in
burner
other
that
problems.
one
Yeah.
appeared to be in retrospect.
Oh, I know, dude. I mean, Clemson. I mean, you're a Chuckhead, you know. Clemson was my pick to win it all, so boy was
Yeah.
I wrong.
They fooled a lot of
And
people.
then,
So
yeah, they really did, and we'll get to it a little later. But my latest champion, who I picked, is also out now. So
Same here, but we will get to that later. And one more thing for you before we move on to talk about the Pinstripe Bowl is, I know he didn't play towards the end of the year here, but what's your take on Nussmeier after watching him his final year in college? What do you really think about Nussmeier? Does he project as an NFL quarterback? Because right now he's looking late first round, early to mid second, and I'm not sure that
yeah,
that the
I
value's there. It's a weak quarterback class overall. We both agree, maybe all three of
yeah,
us agree on that.
I
So
would
I don't know what to
agree.
think.
I disagree with your projection now. I thought if he had a similar year to last year and maybe some slight improvement, which I mean could be expected of a young player, just getting, more reps and everything. I would say that would be a good projection, but now I think the NFL scouts are going to like him. He has good arm strength, and he has been better with his mind, but that still needs the most work. He tries to do too much and finds himself having turnovers and problems with that, which is not good. And just overall consistency needs to improve. I do think he will get drafted, but yeah, I think that's a little early for him. I think we're going to see him end of day 2, maybe a day 3 draft pick for
yeah.
Nussmeier there in a weak quarterback class. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to bode too well for him, but he had potential to really move mountains this year and be arguably the first quarterback taken. And yeah, he didn't perform enough and didn't stay healthy enough to get that done. But I will say I do think the injuries held him back this year, and I think they're going to take that into account of his play. But I don't think it's enough to get him picked in the first or second round.
Speaking of quarterbacks who had a lot to lose going into the season, that's a perfect segue to the Pinstripe
It's a
Bowl.
good segue. It is. It is. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks you could be alluding to there. We'll start with the Clemson guy. I'm going to avoid going to the Penn State man off the bat. Yeah.
Klubnik.
Yeah, Cade Klubnik. This guy was touted as same with
Dude.
Nussmeier, could have been the number 1 quarterback off the board, and he was horrendous this
So
year.
bad.
He
really was
horrible.
He was a big reason in why I picked Clemson to win it all. I thought he was going to pop off, and yeah, to your point, that did not happen. He looked rough, and he doesn't have the injury excuse or anything either. You didn't lose his head coach. He didn't deal with any of that. But yeah, just really rough season for him.
That's fair. So talked about Klubnik there. I guess I'll go to the one you were actually alluding to in the painful part of this one. So Drew Aller, I mean, had a lot. So he didn't play in this Pinstripe Bowl here, but we'll talk about him quickly before I talk about the actual game. I really don't know where Drew is going to go in this draft at all anymore with this ankle injury. I think a lot of it is truly going to depend on his pro day, if he's ready for that when that comes around, or the combine when that comes around. Because even with Penn State struggling before he got hurt, he was still looking like a big first-round pick. With a lot of NFL scouts, if you believe a lot, what you read, which some of it's probably accurate, some of it isn't, a lot of NFL scouts are saying, I still think this guy's the best raw athlete for the quarterback position in college this year that's coming out. In a generally weak quarterback class, which I'll reiterate that again. So I have no idea what's going to happen with him. I actually think that, here's the thing. Penn State hasn't been able to put together a truly functioning good offense in forever. Last year was the closest that we got to that, and it still wasn't great. So I think Drew Aller is one of those guys with the raw tools that he has and the physical traits that he has. I think he could be a better NFL quarterback than what he was in college. I maintain that. I
I
really
agree
do
with you
believe
on
that.
that.
I'm not saying that'll be a.
I think that's a
I'm not
good.
sure that'll ever be like a Barnstormer, top of the NFL type of guy, but I think he could very well be a serviceable, middle of the road NFL quarterback type of situation. So I really don't
Starter,
know what happens with
middle of the
him.
road
Starter,
starter.
I could see it. I think that's his ceiling, I think is what I would say. I think I would put that as his ceiling. But I think
Yeah.
that the potential is there with his physical build and his raw traits. I mean,
Yeah.
his arm strength's insane. He can run, read defenses pretty well. Gets frazzled, so a little bit of the mental as well. I mean, look at the Oregon game right there. I mean, what really turned the season on its head was in overtime. He tried to get the touchdown back in one play, and
Yeah.
that did us in.
Yep.
So
I mean,
we'll see.
he doesn't, and to your point, like the guy hasn't had a receiver worth mentioning
Ever.
his whole
Ever.
Other
college
than Tyler
career.
Warren. Yeah.
So yeah, he was
Yeah.
not. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
Weapon X more than anything.
I mean,
But
yeah, like
yeah,
who did he have to throw to this year, really? Like,
Literally nobody. I mean, we brought in multiple transfers. None of them really panned out. Faber Pena was like okay, I guess,
mhm.
maybe. But that's really about it. It still baffles me to this day that Penn State, even during the James Franklin years, which thank goodness that they're over. I just got to say that again. Um, brought recruiting, like he's an amazing recruiter, but even still could not recruit a wide receiver. We actually recruited better wide receivers before he came there. Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, at least had one good name every once in a while. It made
Mhm.
Penn Staters believe, and NFL teams believe just by how much we had to throw to them, that people like Jahan Dotson, respectfully, loved the guy when he was at Penn State. But I knew he was never going to project out as a really, really good NFL wide
Yes.
receiver. It was never going to happen. But Penn Staters, a lot of them, just believed that he was that guy, and he simply was not. So that is a position they seriously have got to figure out. And if Matt Campbell can figure out how to recruit wide receivers, honestly, that's a win in my book alone right there. Successful
is.
hire,
I mean,
worth the 80
it's got to be
million.
better than where you're
Yeah.
coming from. So
For
there's
real.
why
It's
not better.
terrible. I mean, even like this guy didn't even work out. He actually ended up going to Ohio State. But Julian Fleming, like Pennsylvania guy,
Yes.
close to home. It looks like everything's gonna he's gonna go to Penn State, flips to Ohio State. He eventually comes back to Penn State and sucks too.
And he was
So
worse
even
at Penn State, which is
he
wild.
was horrible,
So
horrible.
bad.
I mean, like I said, we have not had a functioning good offense in a long time.
Yes.
I'm curious to see who Campbell ends up bringing in as the coordinators, because I think I've maintained this on the pod for a while now. We just need to wash everything that
Yes.
Franklin touched, literally everything. Kotelnicki's got to go. Jim Knowles got to go. Terry Smith is going to stay, and I guess that's fine. I actually had an interesting conversation over the holidays. I'm curious of your guys' take on this. Terry Smith, I wanted him gone. I've said that on the podcast. He is a true James Franklin guy. Don't get me wrong. He is a Nittany Lion as well. He's been here forever. He bleeds the white and navy, man, for sure. But it's just an unfortunate, I think should have been a natural ending. He went out on a good note here, which we'll talk about in a
Yes.
little bit. I think that Penn State kept him around in hopes that to keep some of these kids from going into the transfer portal. It was very easy to see that these Penn State players wanted Terry Smith to become head coach. Unfortunately for them, that simply was not the best decision for the program. He is not the guy to recruit and build a national championship. It was a champion team. It was never going to be that way. I think Penn State is keeping Terry Smith around for another 1 or 2 years so that those players graduate and are gone, and then we'll move on from Terry Smith as well. That's kind of my current theory.
Seems reasonable.
bad.
Yeah, just seeing the way he crumbled during that IU game, like, I mean, which Knowles is partly to blame too, but dude, you could just see the pressure on him, and you're like,
the
they're gonna lose this
timeouts.
game.
The timeouts at the end of that
I
game
was
were
so
insane.
excited for you guys to win, and then you didn't. And then we lost
I know.
to them.
We were, ironically, closest team to beating Indiana this year. You could argue the Ohio State Big Ten championship, very similar, but I would put Penn State there. Honestly, I really would.
For sure.
Yeah. But because it took an insane catch, by the way, to even make that happen. Regardless,
Yes.
but like I said, I wouldn't fight you if you said the Ohio State game was right on par, maybe slightly better. We could go back and forth,
like,
but yeah,
you can't really blame
that's
this
true.
field goal and be like, no, if we would have made it, it's like, you got to make them. That's
Yeah.
spilled
Yeah,
milk.
no, it's
So
the same thing. Revisionist history, man, it's crazy. So yeah, anyways, that's what I think about the quarterbacks. That's what I think about the whole overall situation. We'll see where it goes. I'm excited for Drew to end up somewhere else where there is a competent offensive mind to try to mold him, because there's no question he's got the tools if he can put it all together. But obviously, as we know, that is not always enough. But let's talk about the
yeah,
actual pinstripe bowl here. The game, Penn State taking on Clemson. Heck, this could have been a national championship prediction for a lot of
granddaddy
people
of them
coming
all,
into this
right?
year, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. But no, we have a 7-5 team and a 7-5 Clemson and a 6-6 Penn State. Coming into this game here, absolutely ridiculous. And the game was fitting. It was horrible for the first 3 quarters. It was terrible to watch. I mean, there was not a touchdown in this game until I think 13 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and thank goodness it did at least pick up, and there were 3 touchdowns scored in the fourth. The defenses opened up. So, I mean, I guess got to respect the defenses here. But
Yeah, that's true.
I don't even know what to think. Like, good for Terry Smith getting this bowl win. I think that's fun. I think the players really enjoyed that. It's a good note to end the season on. But it just, as a Penn State fan, I couldn't care less.
I think you let Terry Smith have that, and it's like he's got his thing. He can be happy. Won't be bad when we let him
It's
go
a
in a couple
good
years.
time to cut him loose. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
He'll always
Well, they
have
could
the
have just
pinstripe
done
bowl,
it
man.
then, and it would be good.
yeah.
That's yours forever. Goodbye.
Yeah, yours forever. Goodbye. That would have been a funny way to end it. They win the pinstripe bowl. He goes back to the locker room. Hey Terry, here's your pink
That would
slip,
have been
bro.
great. I would have loved it.
Can you imagine? Oh, the cinema. Is that what that would have been? But it was
Well,
kind of fun.
how many players are you protecting from the transfer portal at this point? Like, I feel like you lost damn
a
near
lot.
all of them.
Many, many. Honestly, Tony Rojas was a big one for the team, linebacker, best linebacker for sure, and it was looking very likely that he was going to go into the transfer portal. He no longer is. He's going to stay. There's a couple guys that are in the transfer portal that are still haven't committed to teams that it's possible they end up just coming back to Penn State. Some of them are pretty good guys. They got the tough part was losing a couple pretty good freshmen. Chaz Coleman's going to go to Ohio State. Stupid fuck. Which is really, really annoying.
We need him, dude.
Because
We're dying.
he's a very promising
We're
defensive
dying.
end. Like it's depressing. I will say, honestly, screw him. Anybody that transfers out of Penn State, especially at this point to go to Ohio State, you're no longer a Nittany Lion. You never were to me. You lost all my respect.
That's totally
go anywhere
fair.
else. Anywhere
That's
else. Go to Bama. Go to Georgia.
Yeah.
Like chase it somewhere else. Do
What
not
about
go
IU?
to Ohio State.
Yeah, or Michigan.
Michigan, IU, whatever. Honestly, good for them and the season that they're having. Michigan, that would be really, really annoying. But from a Penn Staters perspective, like we would hate that. I don't think it would lead us to disown you per se.
Yeah.
But only having one season where you're not even just sitting on the bench, that you actually got playing time. It did decrease a little bit after Terry Smith took over, which I think kind of contributed to it as well. But it's not like he was riding the bench as a true freshman here. Transferring out to Ohio State, like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Happy Valley doesn't want you, honestly.
That's my whole thing with the transfer portal. It's like, I hate every bit of it unless we're benefiting from it. I'm like, this is our guy.
Yeah, it's very circumstantial for sure.
Oh, 100%. I just, plug my ears whenever I'm like trying not to think about the state of college football and where it is. But
I mean,
Buckeyes.
Caleb
It's
Downs,
scary
bro.
stuff.
How can you not like the transfer portal when he brings you guys
I
like
know.
Caleb Downs from Bama?
I love him.
From Bama. It's ridiculous. I think Caleb Downs might be the best player coming out of college this year.
I think he
know.
is. It's just the position itself. It's not, highly sought after. So, I mean, he'll still be a top 10 pick, I think, in the draft. But as far as sheer talent, I think he is the best player coming into the draft.
The number of touchdowns he saved us and just like his open field tackling ability are things that just like when I'm watching the games, I'm like, visually, it's just like very striking. I'm like, that's a good football player.
And it's amazing that It's amazing that we can say that when watching him too, because teams do everything they can to avoid the guy,
Hmm.
and he still
Yes.
makes his imprint on every game. Like, he is a complete stud. I'm seeing some mocks saying Dallas is getting him, and it's freaking me the hell out.
Dude, also, if you guys are ever in the market for a new sports podcast, when there might not be any PCC to listen to, I have listened to a couple of Downs to Business podcasts. So, Chris, I don't know if you know, I mentioned this
Downs.
to AJ, but his brother is Josh Downs on the Colts. So they have a
Oh,
little podcast together. Not gonna
look
lie,
at
their
that.
chemistry is not PCC level, but it's a fun one.
Uh, it took a lot of years of friendship and then fine tuning as we got on. But the two brothers, that's honestly, I think you don't need the full chemistry for that because you just
Dude,
kind of
yeah,
hate each other sometime, which is great. But I do the
they
same shit to
do.
Chris though. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
they do a lot
it
of
might as well
like
be a brotherhood.
their show is very like structured, and they have write-in questions. And one of the questions was like, if you guys weren't football players, like what would you be doing? And Caleb Downs' answer was, as you can imagine, very measured. It was like, oh, I probably would have been thinking about that growing up and not focused on sports, but probably like business. And Josh Downs was like, man, I'm not gonna lie to you, I really like animals. I was like, I love that he was that honest. He was like, so yeah, probably something with animals. It's like, I love that guy. I will be a fan for a long time.
But yeah,
that is
I
an
hope he
awesome
gets more
answer.
opportunity. He's, I thought he would have
I
been
like him.
not to make this an NFL thing, but I
It's
I
fine.
would have thought he would have been their number one receiver this year. I was expecting a breakout, and we kind of
I
got it from
agree.
Alec Pierce instead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Last point on that before I want to talk a little about Penn State's transfer portal status. You kind of alluded to it a little bit there, but hey, the door's open for Joshua Downs. Alec Pierce might leave. Pittman's getting older. Adonai
Yeah,
Mitchell
Hmm.
got
it's still
traded, so
open.
the
You're
potential is
right.
still
Yeah,
there. We'll see. We'll
yeah. I'm
see.
very curious to
But
see
yeah,
how the quarterback situation shakes out in Indianapolis, but
Yeah.
I'm rooting for him.
that's totally fair. So to wrap up the Penn State talk, as Chris said, the last of the bum teams before we get to the good teams and the good games. It is so there are some positives to look forward to for next year. Right now, Rocco Beck did indeed transfer in
Dude, that's
um,
huge.
from Iowa State. It is huge. It is
No Bo
huge. I'll ask
Prabula,
you guys a
but
question. Hey, that's part of the
I
question
wanted
right
you guys
there.
to
You
get
you
him.
read my
Yeah,
mind. I actually I it's weird, right? I'll finish this off first. And we also got Benjamin Brommer, I think his name is, the tight end, who was the number 2 tight end in the transfer portal, second only to Luke Reynolds, who is transferring out of Penn State. Um, and here's they're both kind of the same thinking here is Ben Brommer and Rocco Beck did have really good chemistry at Iowa State. It was definitely Beck's favorite receiving target there at Iowa State when Brommer was healthy. So I think that's nice for the chemistry that those two will have and maybe makes up for the difference in talent between Reynolds and Brommer. We'll see. I don't know. I liked Reynolds a lot. Penn State has truly become, in my opinion, tight end U in these past 10 years. I would say it's ridiculous the talent that they're producing. It's awesome. Beck, he will have familiarity with Campbell. He'll know the offense that he's going to try to run. Wasn't working with a lot in the wide receiver department to start off with at Iowa State this past year. 2 years ago, he definitely was with Higgins and Noel. That's definitely true. But this year, not as much. I'm curious. So the chemistry piece I think is important. Point I'm getting to is here. I still think I would have preferred Prabula. You said it.
yeah.
I think I would have preferred Prabula. I mean, Iowa State's in the Big 12. Bo Prabula went and played in the SEC, was beating some of the best teams in the SEC prior to his injury. He had Missouri ranked, I think, as high as 14. I think was the
Yep.
Yeah.
somewhere
Around
around
there
He
for
there.
was
sure.
rolling before he got
Yeah,
hurt.
yeah,
Yeah.
right around there. So I genuinely think I would have preferred Bo Prabula. And I'm curious, do either of you have an opinion on these two quarterbacks, Bo versus Rocco?
I mean, also, AJ, I know you call this out a lot, how Bo Prabula is the hometown kid. Like, it just sucks that things worked out the way that they did, that he left when he did. And like, I was even when I saw he was back in the transfer portal, I was like, he's got to be coming home. So little bit of a bummer for you guys. Would love to see you pick him up. Curious, I don't know if he's signed anywhere, but I'm curious to see where he ends up. But I think, I mean, to your point, I think you guys will have a little bit of a breath of fresh air at the quarterback situation, regardless. So I'm excited for you, but tough to miss out on him.
Yeah. Yeah, well
But you
said. I
saying
mean, you didn't get
before you
your
say
guy,
that,
but you got a
Chris?
good guy.
Yeah. I will say, an Ohio State fan saying he's excited for him, he still means he's not scared. So that's
Dude,
still
I
not good
told
enough.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, honestly, like, and we'll get into this later, but James Franklin might be more to, give credit to OSU's success, I think, over these last 5 years than Ryan Day potentially, because we always
Tell
had
me
that
about
big
it.
game that we won. And I do want to make sure
Yeah.
we get to the James Franklin, Marcus Freeman comments from last CFP. So I don't know if we'll have a chance to do that later since Notre Dame is not in any of the bowl games, obviously.
That's yeah, yeah, thank goodness. Join a conference. Say that. I think I've said that
Yeah.
phrase more than maybe any
Oh my
other on this
gosh.
podcast,
That's
to be
probably going to
honest.
be our first PCC shirt released to the public.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah,
join a
I'm in on that.
conference.
Join a
Yeah.
conference.
Dude, I also have to say,
Hey,
and this is the last thing I will say about the Colts too, because I do have a vendetta against Indiana just for being from Ohio for no good reason. But dude, I'm pumped that Tyler Warren ended up at Indiana. Like, I know Colston Loveland fans are going to be like, oh, he's going to be the better tight end. Obviously, Tyler
absolutely
Warren's
not.
production has been insane. I feel like the grit is a perfect match for Tyler Warren in Indianapolis. So I'm glad. And I couldn't agree with you more, AJ. Like, your production at tight end, it's pretty tough to argue with maybe Iowa, but like, especially more recently, like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's really
Iowa's the
I
possible.
agree. It
only
used to be
argument.
Iowa. Yeah, I think it used to be Iowa, and Laporta gives them like a semi-recent argument, but he also has
He
fallen
has
off.
not been very good. Yeah,
Unfortunately, yeah, he's fallen off. So, but
unfortunately
like
for you.
in recent years, tell me about it. I know, but in recent years, I think it's got to be Penn State. I mean, Theo
Mhm.
Johnson, Tyler Warren, Pat Fryermuth, Brennan Johnson, not Brenton Strange. I went
Yeah,
Tottenham
Brendan.
Yeah,
Hotspur
Yeah.
player.
strange. Yeah.
Gosh, I went soccer. My goodness, too many sports names up here. But yeah, I think that title is absolutely Penn State, which is good because we used to be linebacker U and definitely are not that anymore either. So
Yeah. Get a damn
fair,
receiver
but
though.
I know, I'm waiting, Transfer portal, please bless me.
Dude, they're getting picked up.
Bless me with
Maybe
that.
you'll get an OSU receiver.
I know.
No.
Yeah, Quincy.
They'll probably
Quincy.
all go to.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
I'm scared.
That would make up for Chaz Coleman. I'd be like, all right, deal.
In the mental
50-50.
gymnastics I'm doing, I'm like, we must be getting a big fish or something for all these other people leaving because Chris Henry Jr. is coming in after that saga. We did get him. And then we have a 4-star coming in 2027, Jameer Brown, who's supposed to be really good. So I'm hoping that Mylan Graham and Quincy Porter just like, we're not going to play. But that very well could not be the case, and we could be crumbling with Brian Hartline's departure. But we'll get to that.
See, I mean, he was the receiver whisperer for sure. But I
Yeah.
also
Oh
said
no,
his name, so Chris Henry. I really wish he did go to Oregon. I was really hoping for that.
dude,
Just
that would have
over
hurt
OSU, man.
more than anywhere else. I've developed such a hatred for Oregon.
You're not a big Dan Lanning guy. Not
No,
a big Dan
which
Lanning guy at
that's
all.
why the picks are gonna pain me. But like I said, we'll save that too.
Dude, also, I was thinking more about this shirt now that you mentioned. I actually kind of love that idea. My thumbnail I made for our episode before after Notre Dame got booted,
Yeah.
the sad little leprechaun with the
Yeah,
join a
was great.
dude, I
conference
love the
over top.
thumbnails.
Now that yeah, that could be a fun little shirt
That
right
was
there.
great. Yeah.
Might have to think about that. But yeah, so Chris, what do you think here? Should we talk James Franklin, Marcus Freeman comments quick before getting into this year's
Yeah.
quarterfinals, or
I
should we
mean,
jump right to the quarterfinals?
Yeah, we're still in the Penn State realm, so let's keep it going.
Yeah. So obviously, people have seen the docs come out on Marcus Freeman with the hairline. Um, so that's tough. And last year, I remember there was that presser, and AJ and I were talking about this, where James Franklin just seemed like he was like trying to big bro Marcus Freeman, but he was like, "Oh man, look at that hair! Like, you have such great hair." And it was everyone's probably just like, "Yeah, dude, James Franklin's just being weird, trying to be funny, whatever." But maybe James Franklin could just see a little bit better than everyone else, because dude, that's so tough. As
Hey, a
someone who's
bald
been out
man
myself,
knows.
I
Yeah, that's
exactly.
a
I know
bald
that's what.
man knows.
Yes, 100%. But looking back on that, I was like, oh, dang. And honestly, like, this might be Marcus Freeman's. I'm worried because it could be his ascension to like not trying to be a hunk all the time. It's like if he finally hangs that up, he could actually be a good football coach and Notre Dame could make some noise. But until then, I mean, I don't want to get into Michigan and, throw mud, but like, dude, there was obviously a distraction going on up there, and that came through in the Michigan OSU game.
I
So,
have many thoughts on Michigan, man. Let me tell you, gosh, their championship should be rescinded for all that cheating. Then you got the
dude,
Shamar Moore scandal. This is
yes,
starting to get ridiculous with Michigan
yes.
Yeah.
here.
Which I was like, I was tired of hearing about all the cheating stuff. Like, even as an OSU fan, I was like, dude, whatever, I don't care. But then more stuff comes out, and like, I know you guys have been big proponents of going after Harbaugh in the NFL, with there being precedent for it, as you pointed out, AJ. And so I'm kind of like, yeah, that was kind of messed up. And then like, I think the one thing that no one's really thinking about, and two, like the Shamar Moore thing, like people were like, "Oh, are you happy?" I'm like, "Nah, it's actually like kind of sad. Like he has a family and stuff like that." But if you will recall the way he was blubbering after they won the 2024, it was 2023 or 2024 game against Ohio State. There were four of them, so could have been any of those. When he was standing in as the interim head coach, he was blubbering like crazy after they won that game. He's like, "Coach, we did it for you." He was crying when he went to that lady's house, allegedly. Like, there were a lot of tears that probably came out
Oh yeah,
that way. I think that's the most
absolutely.
embarrassing thing, not the infidelity or ruining of his career and family, but how much he was probably crying. So that's all I'll say on that.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, Michigan is quickly. I obviously don't like Michigan very much. It's well documented, but they're getting even worse in my opinion here. It just keeps getting worse. I mean, don't get me wrong, Penn State's got its own stains, but we've stayed clean for a long, long while now, and so there's
Yeah, if
that.
you're a respectable program, like Michigan is starting to feel like they're chasing like the flash in the pan like Oregon, but they're not even as like high powered and fun like that. So it's
Not
just
at all.
like, what do you guys even do? Like they can't even rest on the tradition anymore.
Like I said, I genuinely don't think that was a national championship caliber team. I genuinely believe that
Oh,
the cheating that they did
Especially
that
with
year
JJ McCarthy at the
helped
helm.
them out,
yeah.
especially with JJ at the helm. The
Dude,
handoff merchant, bro. Oh
Yes,
my
the
I
gosh.
handoff merchant.
love the JJ McCarthy hate. Because the
He's
game that
terrible.
You
I
they
get
mean,
plenty of it listening to us. That's
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, no, it's so bad too because like the weeks that he's been hurt, I'm like, oh, I don't want to watch the Vikings. I don't care. But when he's playing, I'm like,
Yeah.
interception, interception. And dude, there have
Yeah.
been
Like,
so many
yeah.
interceptions that have been like called off because of penalties or stuff like that. And I'm just like absolutely fuming. I'm like, I shouldn't be hating this hard on someone to
No,
call.
you're so right though. Like it actually is worse than what the stats suggest. Like if you actually just watch a full game, you're so right. Like he's gotten away with a lot of shit.
Enshrined in meme history and NFL history
Yeah.
for being the worst.
Yes.
How do you have a receiver like Jay Jettas and perform like this? I just don't
Dude,
understand.
the main
Yeah.
blessing of this whole situation is getting more exposure to Justin Jefferson, seeing the absolute like leader and dog he is. He's had so many opportunities to just be like, yeah, this is not it,
Yeah.
but he is consistent. I
Dude,
mean,
they
his
straight up
career's almost
ask him.
suffering. Yeah, I know. Yeah, they're
They
straight up doing that.
literally ask him
They asked him
questions they
about
have no
nine.
right to ask him. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, don't do that to the guy. It's
I respect
terrible.
Jay Jettas
He
so
handled
much.
it
I
well.
was like
yes,
neutral. I was neutral on him. I think I would say coming in this year, didn't really care
right there with you.
one way or the other. Great player, but he's gained so much of my respect with how he's handled this year because
Yeah.
he will not let anybody come after nine. Like people tried to get him to bring him on his
I
live
saw that.
stream,
His
and he was like, "Bro, no, my kid doesn't need to see that. 9 doesn't need that. You guys will just troll him, so no."
yeah.
Which that in itself is sad that Jay Jettas knows that, and like
I
it's
know. But
and he
You know, at
honestly, the
least
thing
he
is, he didn't
knows.
defend
Yeah.
him. He didn't defend him, which I think was on purpose because he knows. I mean, come on, it's Jets.
Yeah.
He should be doing better
Everyone-
with
and
like whatever quarterback
he
is
should have
there.
left it at that, but he kept saying it over and over again.
Yes.
Which made it so
Yes.
much funnier. He's like, I will not. You guys are mean. You're gonna roast him. Like, absolutely.
I think that was his way of getting out his frustration indirectly of like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
Which
he
he deserves
sucks. I
that.
cannot say those words out loud. Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's terrible. And the only person that doesn't think so is Kevin O'Connell, I think, which is interesting.
Dude,
Yeah.
painful.
Which I think he's a hell of a coach, but if he's gonna stand by 9, I might have to
Well, it didn't
reassess.
make sense until AJ, you mentioned it. You're like, he's just so hell bent on proving that he can make JJ McCarthy a good quarterback. I was like, oh, that makes sense. But yeah, it's
I
just
mean,
been,
Sam did it with Sam Darnold, but and also the draft capital. Can't forget about the draft capital. They took him way
Yes.
too damn early.
Yeah, they did.
Just like
NFL
Michael
teams made some really
Penix.
bad decisions in that draft. That was exactly what I
that's
was
a
gonna
good
say.
comparison. Yep.
Exactly. Yep.
But that's enough
Surprisingly,
NFL,
was that-
boys. We
I
got to
know,
get back
I
on
know.
track.
True.
All right, so
That's fine.
before we jump into the recap, one last Penn State question. I want to throw you the same question you threw me. Are you going to bounce back next year, or is this going to be an ongoing process?
I think next year will definitely be a bit of a transition year. I think that would be better than this year. I'd say I'd have to project. I think I'd say 8-4, maybe 9-3 best case scenario. I think is where I would put Penn State. I think that LSU has a bit. I think, like, if we're comparing the two, I think LSU's in a better situation to not have any sort of transition. I think is what I would say. I mean, you just got to look at Penn State.
Yeah,
They
I would
lost
agree.
all but two of their recruits. A ton of good guys transferring out. We're starting to make up for that a little bit. Got plenty more work to do. So I totally expect a transition year, maybe even 2, especially with the powerhouse that is the Big Ten these days, better than the SEC. Proof is in the pudding, baby.
Yeah,
Proof is in the pudding for
I
these
can't
past few
fight
years.
you
You got
this
nothing.
year.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
got me
this
2
year.
years in a row. You're so right. Claws
Yeah,
are
so
away.
Yeah. So I expect
They're on standby.
it's hard to call it a struggle year when I'm saying like 8-9 wins at best. I'd say like 8 is more likely, but what you expect out of Penn State and what the expectation is, I'd call that a transition year for me.
Yeah,
A team that
for
was in
sure.
the national championship semifinal, the college football playoff semifinal. Can't be in the national championship semifinal, but just 2 years ago, 8-4 is not where you want to be.
Yeah, for sure. All right, shall we recap?
Let's do it.
Let's get to it.
Yeah, let's get to it. So let's start with 5 seed Oregon took on 4 seed Texas Tech, a game in which Oregon came out on top 23-0. I did not expect this, and I wonder if it again is just another product of these teams having damn near a month off. But this Texas Tech team had a ridiculously high-powered offense and a solid defense to go with it. And for them to get shut out in this game was extremely surprising to me. Oregon, a team that's been a powerhouse for a handful of years now, I don't think they're all that special this year. So for them to shut out Texas Tech and win 23-0, I was very surprised. I wouldn't have been surprised if Texas Tech was going to win this game. I certainly didn't expect them to get blown out like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I really wonder. For me, like, I was telling AJ this too, like, this was the one game that I didn't really pick. In my head, I was like, I honestly don't know. This could go either way. Like, either the Big 12 is potentially fraudulent, or, their defense does come through and they actually stifle Oregon, but we did not see that happen. So I was definitely surprised, and Chris 100%, like, you have to wonder the sitting for near a month,
Yeah.
what that does to a team, because I mean, we'll get to Indiana,
It's
but
tough.
it's looking pretty real
Right.
that is
I mean,
causing some issues
It
for
do you
really
even
teams.
have to
is.
wonder anymore? Do you even have to wonder anymore? You look across sports. Okay, like we'll go really even out there. You look at baseball. Teams that get the bye, they consistently struggle. Teams in the NFL,
Yeah.
one seeds, they struggle coming out. Just look at the Lions last year when they went and played the Commanders. I mean, come on. I mean, you look at this college football playoff format. These first 2 years, teams with the bye, 1-7. They are one
Yeah.
and seven. Indiana, which we'll get to, the only team that has
Yeah.
actually won their game after a bye. That's great. I mean, proof is in the pudding, man.
Yeah, it really is. It needs to be addressed. We discussed this quite a bit in the last few college episodes, but the playoffs new, it especially, stretching out to 12 teams, but it needs tweaking, and I'm not sure what the fix is, but that is a big problem. Like your best teams that you're rewarding for such an awesome season are actually getting punished. And yeah, it needs fixed for sure. But to your point about Indiana, let's just jump into that game next. Another game that was a blowout. But Indiana, 1 seed, took on 9 ranked Alabama, and Indiana won this one 38-3. They are the outlier, the only team with a bye week that we've actually seen perform coming off of a month's rest. But what were your guys' thoughts in this game? Like, Bama's so perplexing to me. I mean, half the time they look like, one of the juggernauts in the country, and other times it looks like they're just so different than the Saban days,
Hmm.
and they don't belong here at all. And
It's not made for
I'm just
this.
so conflicted. Yeah, I agree.
I don't
I don't
disagree
think
with
he
that.
is either, but
I actually didn't
it's
want
just it's
DeBoer
so
winning. He was
weird.
rumored to Penn State, but
Like AJ and I
One
were in
Dable.
agreement after the SEC championship game,
I did.
like that Bama should get in still, and I still stand by that. And they did win a round to get here as well, but it's brutal. This team is just such a roller coaster.
You're right. Bama is perplexing.
Yeah, they definitely deserve that playoff shot, and that one against Oklahoma solidified that, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
Um, I think that even with the wild card that Bama has proven to be, my takeaway from this was that Indiana is unfortunately for real. I think after
yeah,
the Big Ten championship game, like in my mind, I'm like, I saw the look on Ryan Day's face. I was like, he's reverting back to pre last year's championship. And I'm like,
yeah,
that wasn't, in my mind, I'm like, that could have not been that good of a win. But like, after the way they handled Alabama and the way that Kurt Cinetti is obviously capable of preparing this team, I am a little concerned. I will say IU fans have been acting like they've not been here before, and it's very obvious, but they also deserve it. So I can't really take too much away from them on that one.
So that's fair. I mean, it's tough. So I've obviously been pretty tough on Indiana for all of this year. I think I'll say I'm not going to give them all of their flowers yet. As Chris mentioned, Bama's really up and down here. I'll give them like a pot of like lilies or something, but I'm not sure I'm going to go out and buy like a bouquet of roses or anything yet. I think we'll wait to see these next 2 games before I'm going and doing that. They do deserve some credit for sure. I mean, dismantling this Bama team like they did was crazy. I mean, I could have seen them winning. I certainly did not see them winning 38-3 with Bama having no chance from the first whistle, man. It was an absolute shellacking. A ton of credit has got to go to Signetti. I mean, the guy is an
yeah,
absolutely amazing coach. That's a guy I will give all the credit in the world to. He is fantastic.
yeah. It was impressive what Indiana did. I mean, we saw Bama against Oklahoma. Like, they were down and out early in that one. And and then in that game, it wasn't a neutral site either. Like, they had to come back in Oklahoma and they got it done. And then here you just saw Indiana keep that foot on the throat, and they just dominated. So yeah, it was definitely impressive win to win this way against Bama, regardless of their ups and downs.
I think too, I was going to transition briefly to talking about Kurt Signetti because while I do think he is a huge nerd and maintain that like what he's been able to do. I mean, you look at, like Coach Prime. You look at even Luke Fickell going to Wisconsin. Those are schools that have like a ton of resources. No reason for them not to fill. Although UW, I don't know what's going on. I think they've got some disadvantage with NIL and how they're treating that. But I mean, the fact that he was able to create a model coming from JMU and turn Indiana around in 2 years to be what they are now, like, yeah, you have to give him all the credit in the world, even if he is kind of weird. But yeah.
Hey, we're all weird, man. Let's be honest. People watch this show, listen to this show, they're like, oh, what fucking weirdos. Sit around and watch sports all weekend. Yeah. So,
Completely
uh,
fair.
but yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like I said, Indiana's earned some of my respect. I certainly didn't think the shellacking was going to come, but we'll see if they can finish it off, because here's the reality. Just like with 5 years from now, if they don't go out and win this national championship, people are going to forget about this.
Yes, 100%.
So they've got to finish it off, and if they do, I will come on this pod and say how much of a jackass I was, how wrong I was, how much of a hater I was. You name it, I'll say it. But until then, I'm gonna maintain my position.
Yeah,
That's
that's
completely
fair.
fair. Yeah, and
Yeah.
too, I didn't mean to celebrate them too early. I'd agree with your take, AJ, giving them credit for now, but I will say I was very surprised because this was the first of 3 games that I definitely got wrong with not really picking Oregon, Texas Tech, but I did not expect this in the least bit.
Yeah, I went 0-4, so that was fun. I mean, this round was exciting because I didn't expect it.
But
So.
yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing, like with these playoffs, as many problems as there are. But like if you actually make it to the end of this thing and you come out champ, you are champ. Like regardless of
Yeah,
them
you
putting in
can't argue with that.
some weaker teams and all that, it's just and it kind of weeds itself out. I mean, those weaker teams don't even get to you and you have the bye week if we're talking Indiana or last year Ohio State had the bye. Um but yeah, you're going to be tested sooner or
Hmm.
later, and it's just a lot of games. I mean, these kids are not used to playing this many games, and in such a do or die
Yeah,
fashion
that's very
too.
true.
It definitely does a good job of crowning a true champion. So I will give it credit there, but yeah, you're right. I mean, we'll give them some praise, but there's work to be done yet. But let's jump into another one.
Wait, but pause. Ohio State didn't actually have a bye last year, right? Because they weren't even in the Big Ten championship. I don't think they had a
I thought
bye,
they
right?
did.
No, they did not. They went Tennessee. They didn't make the Big
Damn.
Ten championship. They went Tennessee, Oregon,
Yeah, their path
Texas,
was
and
stupid
then
though.
Notre
They
Dame.
had such
Yeah.
a tough path.
Yeah, well, but no, that's more to your point.
Yeah.
That was
I hate
so
it.
That's a
many games
crazy
that they
Very
had
path.
to
legit chip.
play. Yeah, yes, it was. Unlike this year for
Yeah.
us.
Which we'll get to in due time. But that is not the next game we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about 6th-ranked Ole Miss taking on 3 seed Georgia. Yeah, got this one wrong too. Ole Miss takes it 39-34. Georgia, ever since that SEC championship game, they were far and away my favorite to win this thing. I thought they looked so damn good. Ohio State being the only team that I thought maybe could get them. They just looked so damn good in that SEC championship game. And here they go up against Ole Miss, who lost Kiffin, and there's all this drama with that. And they basically had a bye week. They played Tulane, who they already smoked in the regular season. Um, and I thought this was going to be it for them. I mean, they weren't really tested since losing Kiffin, and I thought this was going to be it. But they rallied and they won this one late and held on against a very good Georgia team. So really makes me reassess Ole Miss now too. I mean, it's just amazing you can be this far in a season and you're still learning.
It was an awesome game, man. I mean, that's
It
all I
was
got.
so
This
fun.
was an awesome game. Chambliss and Stockton battled. They
Yes,
absolutely
100%, dude.
a sight to see. And I will say the one thing I want to say, like you mentioned, we didn't really talk about second favorites here because I mean, who does that? We talk about favorites. I mean, when I agreed on Georgia coming into the playoffs here, but I actually disagree with what you said about Oregon earlier. I actually would have had them as my number 2. I thought that Oregon was a bit of a
Really?
sleeper. Yeah, I mean they lost the game.
Okay.
The only game they lost is against Indiana. That's it. That's their loss. Um, so I actually would have picked them as a sleeper. I think their defense is a little bit underrated. I think Dante Moore, if he plays well, is one of the better quarterbacks in college. He's got a lot to learn when it comes to the NFL, but in college, it's super athletic. Kenyon Sadiq, their tight end, is fantastic.
Yes,
So I
absolute
actually would
beast.
have gone Oregon number 2 here. So hopefully
Oh
there's some
yeah.
redemption for me with that after going 0-4 this week. But hey, who knows?
Yeah, interesting take. I'm definitely on the other side there. I was not really impressed with Oregon this year.
Yeah, it it hurts me to say, but I feel very similar to AJ. Also, we'll obviously get to it, but really difficult to beat a team twice in one season. So I think they have that going for them as well. But yeah, no, Ole Miss Georgia absolutely did not disappoint. Gunnar Stockton, an absolute dog, taking that shot and then going down and getting in the end zone. Like I have a lot of respect for Georgia as a program. Obviously, like AJ, I know you're going to ask me about elite coaches later, and you know
I
my
didn't know
flip
there
of
was
that to
one
you
coming
is
up.
going to be which. There we go. Which coaches in college football are elite right now, and I think Kirby Smart's probably at the top of that list. And I think anytime that Georgia's in the playoffs, they have a chance. Even if there's some questions at certain positions. Yeah, I'm pretty high on Ole Miss right now, and part of that too. There's a family connection there that seeing them go all the way would be cool. So definitely playing a little bit with my heart on that one, but I'm really pumped to see what they do in this next round.
Yeah, super cool that they're still alive. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a lot to lose your leader, your coach, and to rally. It's
That's
awesome.
what,
It would be
yeah,
really
It's
cool to
very
see him go all
interesting.
the way.
They might lose even more before they get to play this
I
yes.
semis
Charlie Weiss
know.
is
on
I
the
was
only
gonna.
one
shore.
hanging
Yeah.
around allegedly. So, and question for you
Yeah,
guys, like, what do you think? And I haven't really seen any reports or anything. I've heard a few things about like the players being like, get out of here to Lane Kiffin or whatever. But do you think that those players are playing with a chip on their shoulder to win in spite of Lane Kiffin leaving?
definitely.
Or,
Oh,
okay,
100%.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
what, okay.
They want to win and be able to prove like Lane Kiffin didn't make them. They made Lane Kiffin. Like that's
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely the
right.
Okay,
point they're trying
perfect.
to prove right
That's
now.
what I was
Yeah.
always leaning towards, but you never know if they're like, nah, man, he put this team together.
I feel like teams have chips all the time on their shoulder, but to actually use it and get the job done is another thing. Like it really is impressive what they've done, and like I said, I mean Georgia was my favorite, and they took them out in a very tough game that could have gone either way, but
Yes.
still got the job done and did it with all this noise in the background. So very
Thing is
impressive.
for them, it's a very big chip. We've said I think a couple weeks ago when like
Massive.
we first showed the pod like Lane Kiffin left an SEC team still in the
Yep.
Southeastern Conference that is in the playoffs with the 6th seed to
Yeah.
go to a team in the SEC that is worse right now.
Yeah.
So
You're
that's a
right.
big chip on
And
those
that's the
players'
perfect
shoulders,
way to
man.
say it because they
Yeah.
are. Like LSU is in a
Like
Yeah.
worse place
undeniably at
than Ole
this
Miss
point,
right now.
top four team in the nation. Like they have earned
Yeah.
that, and for him to leave and go somewhere else, it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
think, and
crazy.
I
In the
think you
same
guys,
conference.
yeah, talk about this all the time too. Like these are kids, and that's why I think that that will really count for something for Ole Miss to actually have something to play for and prove something. So I'm excited to see what they do.
I hope they don't fall off, honestly. I think they've earned that. I hope they don't.
I mean the way like I remember at halftime when they were talking to Pete Golding, like he pretty easily called out like, yeah, we didn't do X, Y, and Z, and then they were able to come back in the second half and actually execute on those adjustments. And I'm like, if he's able to do that amongst all the turmoil and everything happening, like that's to speak to something for his composure and ability to work with these kids in a weird situation. So I'm hopeful for them, but yeah, I agree, AJ. I hope they don't fall off. I do hope Indiana falls off, but
Yeah.
I thought
Makes
you were
sense. Big Ten.
anti-duck though.
I'm anti. Well,
We're
we'll
looking.
get there.
Yeah, anti-Dan Lanning, what he is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
mainly
can we
anti-Dan
get to
Lanning.
this Ohio State game?
Yeah,
I need to
let's
hear
get into
Alex
it.
get talk about this game.
Let's do it. So 10 seed Miami took on 2 seed Ohio State, and Miami pulls off this upset 24-14. Alex, lay it out for us. What happened?
Yeah, man. I mean, we talk about the first round bye and having teams sit for that long, but honestly, in my mind, it's like OSU in the Big Ten championship got exposed by Indiana's D line. They tore us up. It's a thing of beauty when Julian Sand has enough time to take a step back and throw a bomb to Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate. He wasn't getting enough time. Like it was just not happening. I love the guy, but he's not mobile enough to actually do anything or, get outside the pocket
Yeah,
and really make
extend a
moves. Like
play.
100%. Their game plan's been pretty conservative, so he hasn't had to be that tested throughout the year. And I mean, that showed, but it's like, all right, that happened against Indiana. You have a clear opportunity to game plan against that and get your team into a position where you can at least, have some changes or be ready to adjust. And that just did not happen. We could not sustain an offensive drive. And like, I would like to blame the schedule for, coaches getting hired, the carousel that happens, Brian Hartline leaving, which, speaking of Lane Kiffin and his mishaps, Brian Hartline going to Florida is going to be bad news because that dude has a tattoo arm sleeve. So hopefully he stays on the straight and narrow. But yeah, so the fact that Ryan Day took over play calling again after, the main success that we had from the championship run was Chip Kelly calling plays and Brian Hartline being the co OC. The fact that they were like the most common thing I heard during that broadcast was like, they're taking stuff off Brian Hartline's plate. And I'm just like, oh no, we're putting it back on Ryan Day and it's just not going to go well. There was a little bit of excitement that got drummed up, but like I was telling you guys before this, I'm very glad we did not call out Ruben Bain because that dude and Messidor too were just absolute game wreckers all night. Like all the credit to them. They crushed us on offense and we couldn't get anything going. Defense did well overall. Like when you look at what Miami was able to do on offense, like they had that one touchdown, but then defense scored, and then it was like a late game score. So, like, I think defense still did enough for the most part, but I mean, offense just absolutely could not get going. And yeah, it is unfortunate to see that look in Ryan Day's eyes of like, dude, you got to pick it up. You got to be able to figure this out right now because that really was a matter of lack of preparation, lack of execution, lack of adjustment, and that's almost all coming back to coaching. So obviously not feeling great about how things ended. I would like to put a lot of weight into the first round bye. There being a lot of distractions with Hartline leaving. Optimistic for next year, but that was a tough 2 games to go out on. So I will say that, and all the
Yeah.
while too, all the hubbub about like does the ACC deserve that spot and everything for Miami, which good for them. Again, the only silver lining mental gymnastics I was doing was like, well, at least I don't hate Miami. There aren't any players that I'm like I can't stand this guy or anything. Mario
Right.
Cristobal, I don't really have anything against him. So all the credit to them, and we'll see what comes out of OSU looking in the mirror over this offseason. But yeah, that was a tough one that continued to expose us, and it was a tough one to swallow.
Yeah. Well put. I mean, I agree with you. I think it was more on Ohio State's offense or lack thereof, whether it be coaching or, just execution. Uh, and Miami's defense just playing really well.
Yeah,
Ruben Bain is
But yeah,
awesome.
Ohio State's defense certainly
dude,
doesn't take
he's
the blame here. And what a freaking season they had, man. I mean, your defense was impressive. They were fun to watch, which is dope. I mean, that's Big Ten football. I love
yes,
the defense in the Big Ten, and Ohio State had the best of it all year. And I think they were strong in this game. but like you said, it was their shortcomings were on offense.
Yeah. The only thing that was weird, and like, I don't know if Arvell Reese being such a highly touted NFL prospect had anything to do with it, but like, he was not present, it felt like, for like our last, definitely not the IU and Miami games of the year. So, like, I don't know if he was just like, I'm going like potentially
Yeah,
like one of the top 10 draft picks and checking out a little bit. But no, yeah, Chris, to your point, I mean, you'd have between having, potentially 4 first round picks, between Caleb Downs, Caden McDonald, Sonny Styles, and Arvell Reese, it's like this should have been everything and more. And it was awesome for most of the season. I did get a little bit nervous when Caden McDonald was like, I don't think anyone in this tournament can guard me. I was like, dude, we do not normally talk smack. And
yeah,
dude, the
don't
other
do that.
thing, so I know the first round by length and the effect that has on playing, but dude, I love Jeremiah Smith. He was in front of the camera for media day way too long. He was talking about like, yeah, I would have gone to
Soaking it
Miami, which
up.
is like, yeah, like a fair thing to say, but it's also like it gets put out there in the media. People are like, what is going on with this? And then for them to go out and
Yeah.
lose, it's just like, ah, man,
I mean, he could
bummer.
just transfer out. That'd be kind of cool. Like,
He
that'd be
said he was
fine.
staying. He already said he was staying.
Yeah.
I love him. No, I would support
Yeah.
him regardless, and he's been amazing for us. We're super lucky to have gotten him and love him to death. But yeah, some of the interviews, I was like, yo, we gotta get this guy going.
All right, so I've got 3 questions. I'll hit you with
Jeez.
the non-Ohio State one first. I'll start easy. I'm starting easy.
Okay. Okay.
Miami. Carson Beck. Do we think with
Yes.
this year that he's really has he rebuilt his NFL stock at all, or was last year so bad that it really doesn't matter? Because it's not like his statistics are amazing this year, but he
Yeah.
certainly played much better. He's got his team in the semifinals. What do we think?
He's been serviceable as an ACC quarterback. I think that, we're seeing the clear benefit of him going against those ACC defenses. And again, to like 100% credit to Miami, they did what they needed to really on both sides of the ball. But defense stood out, and like their defense did have a touchdown. So there wasn't a ton of offense generated, again, that late score for Miami. So like, I don't know. I don't think he came out this season and really renewed any great interest, from folks as far as his draft stock. I think he's played, I mean, too, I was just about to say, like, played consistently enough, but you look at the 2 bad losses they dropped and you wonder, like, maybe not really. So I think with those taken into account as well, yeah, I'm not personally back in on him, not to slander the man, but respectfully, as always, I wasn't back on the Carson Beck train.
Yeah. Well put. I couldn't agree more. I don't
Really
think
hate
he did
JJ based on
enough.
that. None of that for JJ out here. That was straight slander out here.
Dude,
Sorry, but back. Yeah.
no, that's fair. You know my feelings on JJ. I mean, dude, the Michigan game that he won for them, to your point, handing off the ball to Blake Corum
That's what I'm
every single
saying,
time.
bro.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Chris, sorry
Agreed.
to interrupt. I just had to say, like, oh, this. I love
All
how we're
good.
slandering one guy, and he's like, oh, all fully respectfully,
I know.
we're just bashing JJ through
Yeah,
the.
it's different though. It's different.
It is different.
It's just different.
He's not drafted yet. Once he's drafted, we're coming for him.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
100%.
But yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think Beck, if there was even much improvement, which again I kind of agree with you, is pretty much the same. It was most likely due to a easier ACC schedule. But yeah, I mean he's getting it done now, and he's winning games that they necessarily shouldn't be winning. But I think that has a lot to do with what's around him, and less to do with all him. But at the end of the day, when you're quarterbacking a team and you're getting shit done when you shouldn't be and all that, you just get credit. That's just the way that
Yeah.
works.
Agreed.
So I give him a little bit of credit there, but as far as draft stock and all that, I think it'll be much the same as where he was already headed, which that's like a third day pick. I mean, you're talking probably round 5 for him, something like that, maybe 4. But
I feel
I
like
don't see anything crazy happening. Even if Miami continues this run, I really don't see him climbing the boards too much.
I agree mostly on the performance pieces. I do think that he was better this year strictly because he was so bad at
He was
Georgia.
terrible.
Yeah,
He
Yeah,
could
was
he
pretty
really
not
was
bad.
have gotten
bad.
any worse. I do think that he's been a little bit better this year. I do think, given how at quarterback is a premium position, his team's in the semifinal. I think some NFL teams are going to take him around 3 or 4. Now, I definitely don't think he's jumped himself back up into round 1 or 2. No way. But I do think that he's jumped up into round 3 or 4 conversations, I'd bet. That's where I'd slot him in right now.
Fair.
Not on his talent, but I just think that's where some team is going to take him.
Yeah, not like he
I could
needs
see it.
the money. So
Yeah, he'd come back to Miami if he could.
yeah, it's funny too because listening to Downs to Business, and they were talking about, like what if someone was in the NFL, they kind of like bounced around, but they still had a year of college eligibility left. Like, what if they came back and played? And ever like Josh Downs and Caleb Downs. They also had Zaire Franklin on, who great laugh as well. But they're like, no, absolutely not. Would never let that happen. But that actually just happened in basketball at Louisville. Someone from a G League Ignite team got signed by Louisville. And it's just like, yeah, things are out of control. Absolutely. So pretty sad
Yeah.
right there, but
No, I appreciate you bringing it up. I didn't even know that. That's kind of crazy.
yeah, they had an interview with Mike Izzo, and he was like, I love my job, but like I don't respect my profession. Like whoever was too scared to let this happen, like needs to go. I was like, dude, yeah, that's insane. And what they were talking about in that podcast too is like, yeah, I mean, with the transfer portal, it's like, would you rather, even if you have this like 4 or 5 star recruit that's still going to take some work, would you rather take him or take this person who's been playing linebacker in the SEC for 3 years that is going to be ready and coming to contribute? And their point was like, yeah, it's probably honestly hurting those recruits out of high school, which again, very interesting to look at the percentage of recruits out of high school versus transfer across the playoff teams. I think Indiana and Ole Miss were at the top of that list for transfers. Shouts out to Georgia. Again, respect them. I think they're at like 92% of high school recruits were
Wow.
starters. So the fact that they've been able to retain, and based on Kirby
Yeah.
Smart's comments, it's unsurprising. But yeah, good for them on that. But also, you got to play the game. So, you're going to be left behind like Clemson if you don't.
Yeah.
That's so true. So true. All right, question number 2. What does Ohio State need to do to prevent this from happening again on the field? Because question 3 is about off the field and on the sidelines. So what do you think needs to happen on the field?
Yeah, for sure. I think we need a little bit of time. I'm encouraged that both Julian Sayin and then I didn't realize, but it sounds like Brandon Innes. So basically, like the third piece of our receiving core is also coming back alongside Jeremiah Smith. But we need a line that's not going to get bulldozed like it did against Miami. Like I said, when you talk about exposed 2 games in a row against Indiana and Miami, we need to get Julian Sayin protection, but he also needs to be more confident. Like there was, I think, a third down, I want to say in the third quarter, where like Julian Sayin dropped back, the field cleared up in front of him and he had a clear run to get that first down and he just didn't take it. So I think you're seeing a lot of his age really come out there, that youngness and that lack of experience. Also, maybe a little bit of lack of toughness. Obviously, we love the guy, and not saying he's weak or anything, but he looks like a field goal kicker out there. So I think the time will help both from the chemistry with wide receivers and saying just getting more comfortable staying in the pocket, but an upgraded O-line would also be useful. So feeling better about that. Also with Bo Jackson and Isaiah West obviously being the real deal, hence your pickup of James Peoples. Congrats in the portal. Um, on the defensive side of the ball, though, thank you for Chaz Coleman. Good thing we got him. But we are going to have some pretty big gaps to fill. The thing that leaves me hopeful is that OSU does play pretty, next up ball. Like we have a pretty good core of 4-star players who are ready to step up. Some of the young guys will have to step up that we're getting in the secondary. Some of our defensive backs that are freshmen are going to be sophomores. But I'm pretty confident that will happen. So I think the time next year should help. But I think that leads more into your third question.
Yeah, third question here. Third question is it's Ryan Day. I'll just ask. I'll let you answer this. I answered it earlier with my little snide comment, but elite coach or not? Starting off with that, and based on that question, what do you want to see happen with the Ohio State head coach situation, both in the, I guess, near and long term, maybe depending on how you answer that first part. What do you want to see happen with the coaching situation now with Ryan Day, and what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, there's no way we can get rid of him anytime soon. Just won a national championship, and the guy does get it. I think I listened to his very painful post-game presser against Michigan, not this past season, but the season before. And because I thought at one point he said something along the lines of like, "This is the worst thing to happen to my family." And this is someone whose father committed suicide when he was younger. So it's like he does get it. Like, he really holds that job in high regard and understands the pressure to win. So I think that, that's important. And I think that does only go so far because when you take a look at his tenure, the born on third base allegations are pretty damning. Dropped 4 straight games to Michigan, the game that you have to win, the game that you brought a ton of people back to play for last season, and did not win. Now they won the national championship, but the expectations for that roster were championship or bust. So when he is purely meeting expectations and dropping those games, I don't think that you can put him in that elite category. I do think that he has a path to get there, but I think especially with losing Hartline, next year is going to be very, very telling of how he can actually strategize and adjust as a coach. Because if the Big Ten championship and this first round game were any indication, people like Kurt Signetti are putting him to shame a little bit. Now, long term, I think that depends on the next couple of years. I would say if he can't get it together, also if like Hartline was really that big of a draw for recruiting talent and he can't pick up the pieces there, though he does have a pretty good track record of recruiting in general. However, spotlight has been on the wide receiver room as of late, and we just had a lot of people go to the transfer portal, so we'll see what happens. But I would say about the 3-year mark would be the time to reassess. I think that's the general leash a lot of people are giving on the laurels of, is this going to go in the right direction? Is it not? So that is where I'd land on the near term. Give him some time, but if he doesn't turn things around and keep that momentum going, about 3 years.
That's fair. I agree. Like you can fire him right now. You just can. I've seen so many Ohio State fans asking for that, and I think
Dude,
it's just a ridiculous ask. You
everyone wants
can't
him
do it.
gone immediately. I'm telling you, Buckeye Nation will turn on Ryan Day in a minute. Like
That's crazy. What kind
dude,
of
I was
standard do
sending.
you hold your coaches to?
Well, it's just like when we're so used to doing well, and to when we're bringing in, these top recruits, because it's never been a matter of can we get the talent. It's can we put the
Yeah,
talent together to actually win games. And Ryan Day
very
struggled with
true.
that. He doesn't have. He has something to show in the national championship, and I think a Big Ten championship or two before that. But when the expectation is to win constantly, there's something to be
Yeah.
desired. So
Yeah, it certainly is a
bad.
high bar.
Fair. So
100%.
see, I wasn't too harsh on you. That was fair
I know.
questions. I wasn't
Dude, I was
too
ready.
pointed or mean. Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's fair. I feel like yeah, and like I said too, I just have like PTSD. I can see it when he's on his heels, and I'm like, oh no. So, if I were on the opposing team or preying on his downfall, I would look at that and be like, he's toast. So he has a chance to redeem himself, but we'll see.
I'm just waiting on Ohio State's downfall one day. I need an FSU like downfall out of them. You know what I'm
Dude,
saying?
I hope that doesn't happen anytime soon. But I've also seen 3 national championships in my lifetime, so I can't
That's
really
plenty.
complain.
Quite a few. Yeah,
Dude, that's what,
quite a few.
and at the beginning of the season, I was like, AJ, I know Penn State winning the national championship would mean a lot to you. They looked like they might be able to do it. I would be happy for you if that did happen. The other thing too, the mental gymnastics I did in my mind, I was like, well, if it came down to beating Michigan, the Big Ten championship or a national championship, I guess this year I would want them to finally beat Michigan. So I was like, I'll take that. I'll take that and just tell myself it's
You do
okay.
have that. Yeah, you do have that.
They did need
Michigan's in
that.
shambles though. Although
That's also
last year's
true.
loss to Michigan was horrible. That
Oh,
was
dude, that
horrible.
presser, I can't believe I listened to all of it. He was like every question he was like, I'm not there yet. I'm like, yeah, dude, you better get there and you better figure this out. And he seemed to go on that championship run, but it was it was so bad.
I'd say so. Yeah, I'd say
People getting
so.
maced. Yeah,
Uh,
that
crazy
was a
work.
tough one.
All right, Chris, should we move on to picking these semifinal
Yeah,
games?
let's do it, man. Yeah,
I'm
two
very curious
games
to
will
see what you guys
decide.
have.
Yeah, and yeah, they're tough picks, man, for sure. I mean, like I said, you're getting tested along the way. So every team left, like they definitely have proven themselves.
Yes.
But let's start with the higher of the seeds. We'll do 6 ranked Ole Miss taking on 10 ranked Miami. I am going with Ole Miss. I hope the chip doesn't fizzle out and they can stay strong and get this done here. But Miami friggin' steaming hot right now. Um, so I really have no clue how this is gonna go. And I didn't know Miami's defense was so damn good. Which I think
Yeah.
they're gonna need it to be to keep them in this one. And yeah, it's a tough one, but I'm going Ole Miss.
Yeah. Like I mentioned with OSU and the Big Ten championship, like in my mind, that IU one was never really legitimate because of the shortcomings of OSU's offense under pressure. So I don't know how much of that was at play, but I also went Ole Miss here. Um, you look at their offensive line and really like the OSU game came down to the trenches, right? Um, Ole Miss's offensive line is not necessarily that good, but they did keep Georgia at bay long enough for Trindad Chambliss to do what he needed to do with his feet, or get balls in the air. And unfortunately, that mobility is something Julian Sand didn't have. So I think that's definitely going to count for something. And then going back to Miami's offensive performance and Carson Beck not really being the dynamic playmaker. Malachi Tony is looking pretty good, and that dude took a couple shots towards the end of the game, so massive respect to him, 100%. But I just didn't really see what I needed to for their offense to spark. Again, defensive touchdown, late game score, only one real true offensive touchdown. I think Ole Miss, I'm hoping the chip also does not fizzle out, Chris, and I'm picking them here too.
Hell yeah.
Right. I like this. I get to be the
Sweet.
odd man out here.
Ah.
No, I get to be the odd man out here.
Can't wait to hear
I'm
your
going
reasoning here.
Miami. Yeah, I'm yeah.
He's
That's
a
right.
Beck
I'm
guy.
going Miami
What
here.
the hell?
Nah, it's not that Beck guy at all.
Yeah,
It's all about
seriously.
that defensive line, and I think that we're forgetting that Miami is also playing with a bit of a chip right now. I mean, okay. First off, we'll talk about defensive players. We got Messidor, as mentioned earlier. We got Ruben Bain. I love Ruben Bain. I
He's-
actually think
Yeah,
I think he should go higher in the draft than he's going to go this year. I would love it if he ended up a Lion. I'll just say that right now. Opposite Aiden Hutchinson, yes, please. Oh my goodness. But Miami, I think, is also playing with a bit of a chip. Notre Dame caused a real freaking kerfuffle when Miami went in. Not only with Miami, but with the ACC as it's in its entirety, everything. And I think Miami is out to prove that the
That's fair.
playoff people, I can't think of their proper name right now, made the right
Committee.
decision. I
Yep.
think they've also got it. Yes, thank you. I think they've also got a chip on their shoulder, and I think that there is just so much going on with Ole Miss right now that it's gonna crumble at some point, unfortunately. And I think they've had the run, and I think it ends here.
Yeah. That that is fair. And I alluded to this earlier, but also a big fan of Ruben Bain after his call out of Texas A&M's O line and Mike Elko on Instagram Live. I was like, dude, I do not think I could take him calling out OSU. And the post game presser was like, man, I just want to go and watch Stranger Things. I'm like, how can you not like that guy?
Yeah,
That
that's awesome.
is fair. And I definitely do think that they have a little bit of that chip as well. To your point, like clock's going to strike midnight on Ole Miss at some point. But if they're able to do that against Georgia, I'm hopeful that
Yeah.
they can keep it rolling. That's really the only thing that's given me hope is that because I too was thinking Georgia was the team to beat coming into the tournament. So we'll see.
Yeah, we shall. Yeah, sometimes that you give all you got to take out the juggernaut and then you're spent.
Yes.
But we'll see.
Which
They don't get a month
great.
off in between games this time. So.
Yes. 100%.
Let's move on to our last matchup here. We have 5 ranked Oregon taking on number 1 ranked Indiana. I am taking Indiana here. I know you guys said it and you're right. It's tough to beat a team twice. I get that. But with the dominant performance I saw from Indiana, and you can argue Oregon's performance was dominant as well. But I gotta ride this hot wave, man. And I honestly just want them to do it. Like, it's weird. Like, I never would have guessed
So weird.
Indiana would be the number 1 team in the country, like, running the show. It's bizarre, but I love it. So I'm just honestly picking it out of hope. I just hope they can get it done. I want to see them in this big game.
Yeah. Yeah. I went Oregon here, much to my dismay. I think that beating the same team twice in a season
It's
is very
tough.
real. The other thing too, so when OSU played Oregon in the regular season last year, they lost that game in Eugene. And that was a game that felt like was really hurts me to say this, but very excellently game planned by Dan Lanning. They pulled out all the stops. They had an onside kick early on in the game. They had some trickery with like how they shifted guys and some late plays down the stretch. And I do think Dan Lanning is enough of a psycho to be able to game plan through this one and take out Indiana. That said, I wouldn't be particularly surprised if Indiana rolls and again is just the real deal. But I'm going Oregon here.
Totally fair. I just want you to know, I can't believe you just said the sentence. Dan Lanning, excellent game plan. That was amazing. I'm gonna edit that specifically for you, create a little short out of it, send it to you so you have it forever. Just so you know.
I'm ending the pod right now. Yeah.
Yeah. It's time to go. Time to go. All right. So I kind of alluded to it earlier when I said Oregon would have been my pick behind Georgia here. I'm also going to go Oregon in this one. To Chris's point, I really wouldn't mind if Indiana won this whole thing. It would just be weird. It would be pretty cool. It's not a team you would have expected. I was one of those people who thought Indiana might be good again, but I thought not as good as last year, and they're certainly better, significantly better. It is really cool to see, but I'm also trying to be right. And this Oregon team, you said it. There was a dominant performance against Texas Tech. We talked about it when we talked about the game earlier, but Texas Tech was maybe the best offense in the country this year. It was absurd. the
Yeah,
amount of
it was
points and
dominant.
yardage they were putting up week to week to week. Big 12, as we said earlier, question marks there now too. But shutting them out was really, really impressive. So I got Oregon here. I do think this will be a close game, though.
Yeah,
Very cool. Happy to have some
100%.
differences in such a high stakes game. That's exciting.
Before we wrap up, Alex, I do wanna ask you, since the guest this week, um, in your scenario, you got Ole Miss against Oregon in the championship. Pick right now who's
Yes.
winning the Natty in that game.
Yeah. So actually, Chris, what you mentioned about like doing everything you can to take out Juggernaut and that kind of spending everything. Well, I do think Oregon
Yeah.
is capable of doing that to take out Indiana. I don't think that they're capable of beating a team like Ole Miss. That said, I am picking with my heart a little bit. Like I said, I have family who would mean a lot to win that, and I think that would be really cool to see. Also, seeing them, take someone like Lane Kiffin. I'm sorry, this is an indirect shot at LSU, but you know, be like,
It's
no,
fair.
I'm good, and then have that team go out and win the national championship would be
Oh
pretty
yeah.
cool. So, I'm betting on Ole Miss having a hot hand, which, typically doesn't count for much, but these are children. This is a children's game, and at the end of the day, I think like things like that can count for a lot. I'm hoping they do. Um,
Get
Oregon
hot
is
at
a
the
very
right
good
time,
team.
man. That's how it
Yep.
works. Get
I
hot
mean,
at the
that
right
was
time.
OSU last year, 100%. So I'm hoping that Ole Miss can pull it out over Oregon in the final in my simulation there.
Ole Miss or
I like
Indiana
it.
would be the most fun for sure.
100%.
That's yeah,
Miami
that's
had the run back in like the late '90s and in early 2000s and all that good stuff. Oregon's won recently, but Ole Miss,
yeah.
Indiana, not so much. So it would be
Dude,
fun.
it would be so fun. If I get these picks right and that's the matchup, I have no clue who I'm gonna take. I just want an all-time game. I don't even care who wins. It's dope either way. You get the FU to Lane Kiffin or you get the miracle run from the unexpected. Like, it would be so cool. But honestly, either way, out of all of these four teams, it's
Yeah.
something new. It's something spicy. I'm all right with it.
It was fun. Once again, said this on the NFL pod. I'll say it again on the college pod. Football is unpredictable, man. In this case, any given Saturday. That is why we watch. That's why it's so much fun to watch. You never really know. You feel like you know, and you never ever do.
Amen.
But with that wraps up this. I don't even know if I can call this college edition. That was the topic. We got
Dude,
through all the college
a
topics, but we
crossover.
rambled. But
It
that's
was a
that's what it's all about,
crossover,
man. It was
right?
it was an absolutely awesome conversation. So quick, pass it over to you, Alex. Any last words for your first appearance on the Palm City Chucks pod?
Nah, man, just appreciate you guys having me. Like I said, longtime fan, and think, it's awesome just to throw this on in the background. I was telling AJ, with having a young child, sometimes those late nights, it's awesome to throw it on and just hear the boys talking about
That's
football.
sweet.
So appreciate what you guys are doing. Appreciate you having me on, and I'll continue to pester AJ at work, and we can go from there. But really appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
Thanks
But
for
yeah,
joining.
thanks again for joining. This was really fun. This was a really great conversation. Even though we did get off topic, I kind
Oh,
of loved
dude,
it, to be honest.
It
I'm
was
really gonna
great.
have to put some. I'm gonna have to put some thought into what I title this one, to be honest. So that'll
I
be kind
can't
of fun.
wait
This was,
to see the thumbnail on this one.
to be honest with you, I already figured it out. I was thinking about this earlier, so I already know what I'm doing. So I
Let's
am
go.
excited for you to see it. But yeah, to the Chuckheads out there, thanks again for listening in. We appreciate and love you. Please like, subscribe, comment, and we'll be back with you next week.
Later, PCC!